By the end of this video, you will see how to configure begin checkout event on your WooCommerce store using Google Tag Manager and Google Ads account. To begin, you need to make sure that you have proper access to your WordPress, GTM, and Google Ads account. Go to the backend of your WordPress website and then click on the users and make sure that your email address actually have the administrator access. You need to have admin access of WordPress in order to add plugins and update the settings for Google Tag Manager and the data layer. Once you have confirmed that, go to the Google Tag Manager container and under the admin section, under the containers, click on user management. Make sure that you have publish access to the Google Tag Manager container, otherwise you won't be able to make the changes go live or edit the container. Once you have confirmed that you have published access to the Google Tag Manager container, then go to the Google Ads account, admin, access and security, and make sure that you have either admin level of access or standard access on Google Ads account. Both of these access will let you create conversion actions that are required for begin checkout event. First thing first, we have to make sure that our Google Tag Manager container is properly firing on the WordPress website. So to do that, we have multiple options. We can either install the installation code of Google Tag Manager across all the pages of the website using theme.php files, or we can use some other plugins such as headers and footer. However, since we also need data layer object later in the video, I'm going to use a plugin called GTM for WP. To install the plugin, all you have to do is go to the WordPress backend and then go to the plugin section and click on add new plugin. Here you can search for any kind of plugins that you need. For example, you can first search for GTM for WP, and the plugin that we need is from Thomas Greger. Click on install now and then click on activate. This will make sure that the plugin that you have added on your store is active. Once the plugin has been activated, the page will automatically redirect you to the installed plugin pages. However, if the redirect does not happen, you can just click on install plugin. Scroll down to the settings option on the GTM for WP. It will take you to the backend of the plugin settings. Here, the only thing we need is the Google Tag Manager container ID. To get the container ID, you can go back to the Google Tag Manager container and under the admin, you can find the ID right here. Let's copy the ID, go back to the backend of the plugin, paste the ID right here and hit save changes. There is one minor issue with this plugin. As soon as you hit save changes, this will automatically make the container code off. So just make sure that the container code is on and then hit save changes again. Perfect. Doing this, we have successfully added Google Tag Manager container on the WordPress backend. However, it's really important just to make sure if everything is working alright. Let's go back to the Google Tag Manager container, click on workspaces and then click on the preview button on the top right corner. Once you click on the preview button, this will open up a preview window, which is like a temporary debug session, and you can connect this temporary debug session with your website. This will help you track all the events that are firing on the website and see what kind of tags, triggers, and variables are being placed at that particular event. There are also more than one ways to verify if the Google Tag Manager container is working properly on your website. You can click on this Google Tag Legacy Chrome extension and see whether the Google Tag Manager container has properly fired on your website. If the container is firing properly, you will see that this color tag is either blue or green. We don't want this tag to be red or yellow. Other than that, it's fine. We can also verify the same information by looking at this bottom widget, which says that the tag assistant has been connected. And once you go back to the preview window, you will be able to see one container on the top, which is this same container ID. And you can see all the events that are firing inside the data layer. Perfect. We have successfully connected Google Tag Manager container with our website. So the next step is to trigger the begin checkout event using the data layer. To do that, we have to go back to the WordPress backend and under the settings option for Google Tag Manager, where we have the plugin installed, click on the integration tab. This will show you all the integration options that we have with this plugin. You will see one option which says WooCommerce and the first option which is the track e-commerce events. Once you check this button, this will automatically add the data layer event for begin checkout. Scroll all the way down and then click on one more option which is the clear e-commerce object. This will make sure that none of the previous events are affecting the begin checkout event. Then hit save changes. Doing these two things should automatically create the data layer event for begin checkout. But as usual, once you have made some changes, it's really good to test if everything is working alright. Let's go back to the Shopify store. Let's go back to the WordPress backend and go to the cart page. On our cart page, let's go to view cart and then we will click on the begin checkout button to see whether the checkout event has started. Once we are on the cart page, since I already have some item here, I am going to click on proceed to cart. Once the checkout page has loaded, I can go back to the temporary debug window and wait for the checkout page to load, and I can see that the begin checkout event has fired here. If I will open this API call right here, I can see all the variables and information that I have inside the data layer. You can see I have the currency parameter, I have value of the cart, and I have all the items that were present in the cart. These are all the things that we need for the begin checkout events data layer. All right, great. Now for the third step, we have to create a conversion action and a conversion label inside Google Ads account, so that we can use that conversion ID and conversion label inside GTM to send this event back. Great, let's go back to the Google Ads account, and under the goals, click on summary right under conversion section. Now click on plus button which says create new conversion action. Here you can create any conversion action that you have. You can see that we have multiple options whether to use app, phone, imports or websites. Since we are using Google Tag Manager and WooCommerce Store, we are going to click the first option, which is the website. We have to enter the URL of the website. Let's add any URL of the web page and hit scan. Great. If you will scroll down, you will find an option to add conversion actions manually. So let's select that. For the conversion category, we do have begin checkout as a category. We will select that. And for the conversion optimization, I typically select it as primary conversion action. Let's rename it as begin_checkout. And we are going to be passing different values for each conversion action. You can change any of the settings that you want. However, I like to keep all the settings same. Let's hit done. So all the changes that we have made for this conversion action should be live. Hit save and continue. Now this conversion action has been created, and if you switch to Google Tag Manager option, we are provided with the conversion ID and the conversion label. These are the two things that we need to use inside Google Tag Manager. Perfect. Now we can move on to the fourth step, which is going back to the Google Tag Manager container, and under the tags, we have to create conversion actions, conversion labels for these things. For Google Ads account, you have to create a conversion linker which will fire on all the pages of the website. So let's create a conversion linker that will fire on all pages. You can either select conversion linker from here, or you can go into Google Ads option and then select conversion linker. We don't need to have any additional settings on this one. So we can just keep the default setting and then hit save changes. Now we have added the conversion linker, but unlike the conversion linker event which fires on all the pages of the website, we want the begin checkout event to only fire if the begin checkout event is fired inside the data layer. How we can do that is create a separate trigger that will only fire if the user is on that particular event. So let's click on new and create a custom event. We want the name of this custom event to exactly match with the event inside the data layer. So let's just copy the name of this data layer event, go back to the Google Tag Manager container and rename this custom event. Let's also rename the trigger to custom event begin checkout. Perfect. We might also need a few more things for this one, such as value, currency, and items array. So let's go to the variables and create all the variables that we need for this event. To make things easier, I'm going to attach this thing on the left side and open the data layer on the right side, so we can see both things in the same window. Let's click on new to create a new data layer variable that will capture the currency parameter first. So let's select data layer variable. The currency variable is right now inside an e-commerce object. So let's use e-commerce object. To get anything from an e-commerce object on the data layer, you have to use dot notation. And then let's select currency. Let's rename this variable to DLV e-commerce.currency. Great. Now we need to create the same thing for value. Let's create another data layer variable and let's do it e-commerce.value and rename this one to DLV e-commerce.value. We also need the same thing for items array. So let's create a new variable for items array and let's rename it to e-commerce.items. Perfect. Let's hit save. Great. Now we have all the variables that we needed. While we are at it, let's also create constant variables for conversion IDs and conversion labels. So let's click on new and let's select a constant variable. Let me get the value of the conversion ID from Google Ads account. And let's rename this as Google Ads conversion ID. Perfect. Now we can do the same thing for conversion label. Let's select the conversion label and create another constant variable for this one. Let's rename it to gads conversion label begin underscore checkout. Great. I'm going to maximize this windows because now the only thing we have to do is create the conversion tracking tag. Let's click on new, and for the triggers, I'm going to select the custom event trigger that we just created in the previous step. For the tag configuration, I'm going to select Google Ads conversion tracking tag, and we have all the variables that we need. We have already created a constant variable for the conversion ID. We also have created a constant variable for conversion label, so let's select that one. We also need one for conversion value, so let's select conversion value. We don't have transaction ID at the begin checkout event, so we are going to skip that. We have the currency parameter inside ecommerce.currency. We do have the product level information. There are two options. Either we can import the items array right here, which is this one, or we can simply switch it to data layer. This option is also fine. We don't have customer information, we don't have user information, and we don't have shipping information at the checkout step. So let's rename this tag as Google tag. Let's rename this tag as Google Ads conversion tracking begin checkout event. Perfect. We have created the conversion tracking tag. However, now we need to make sure that our remarketing tag is also working fine. Let's click on new and let's add the same trigger. For the tag type, let's select the remarketing tag for this one. Again, we do have the conversion ID stored in a constant variable, so let's select conversion IDs. We do have the conversion label also, so let's also select conversion label. We can also send dynamic data. The name of the event is begin underscore checkout. The value is inside ecommerce.value parameter, so let's select that. The items array is inside ecommerce.items. And we don't have any customer information and we don't have any user ID too. So let's skip all of these things and rename this tag as gad remarketing tag begin underscore checkout. And let's hit save. Perfect. Now we have successfully created the conversion tracking tag and remarketing tag. However, it is a really good practice just to make tests before publishing anything. Let's click on the preview button and this will open the debug window again. And again, for testing, I'm going to open both of these side by side so we can see what kind of events are happening on the left side. Since we already have 3 items in the cart, let's go to the cart page directly. And let's click on begin checkout. Once I click on the begin checkout button, it is going to reload the page for the checkout event. And on the left side, we can see that the checkout page has loaded and we have the 13th event which says begin checkout. We can see that the data layer code has been loaded and the conversion tracking tag has fired and the begin checkout tag for remarketing tag has also fired. You can also see on the top, now we have another container which is for the Google Ads conversion tracking and it has sent a conversion action. You can also verify the same information using the tag assistant window where you can see the Google Ads tag has fired, and if you will open the request tab, you can see that the begin checkout event has fired and the ID of the begin checkout was 16.25. You can also see all the URL parameters that are being sent. For example, what is the value being sent? It's 89.9, and then you can also see other information about the browser, the name of the event, and all the other good stuff. Perfect. Now the only thing left is to make sure that all the changes we have made are live on the website. So let's just go back to the Google Tag Manager container and hit submit on the container. Let's rename this version as Tracking Academy Google Ads Begin Checkout. Perfect. All the changes are going to be live in the website and you can verify this information on your Google Ads account in 3 to 4 hours. You need to keep in mind that all the conversion that you are going to see on your Google Ads account are only going to be there if it happens through the Google Ads campaign. For example, this inactive tag will go away in a few minutes because we have just fired the conversion action. However, this will go from inactive to no recent conversions. And all the conversion actions that we have created will always say no recent conversion unless you have any campaigns active. This conversion will only show up if you have an actual Google Ads campaign running and the user actually clicks on a campaign link and then makes a conversion action. Great. If you want to see how to configure add to cart event on Google Ads account, click right here.